What's up everyone? Today I have a tool review on two of my most asked about tools. These are absolute essentials for any shop and I'm not sponsored, so here's my honest take. Subscribe to the channel below and let's get started. The first tool I'm going to be reviewing is my sander. I've gotten a few questions about this. This is my 3M Extract. Now the 3M Extract orbital sander is an absolute beast, but it does have quite an unforgiving price tag. It comes in at about $450 and it may be the least expensive of the higher end type sanders, but it is still a hefty price to pay. Now that is probably one of the biggest cons with this sander is the price tag attached to it. As well as the dust collection port. Now this comes not like this. I have duct taped an adapter to it, but this comes initially with a 1.5 inch thread to match the hose that comes with the Extract system. There are adapters available if you are a Festool guy and you have a Festool dust extraction system. This, however, connects to a hose that I can attach to my regular shop vac. I will link that down below if you are going to end up with this sander. Now I've used this sander quite a few times and those are really the only two cons that I can find. Other than that, I think that it is an outstanding machine and I highly recommend it for anyone who's woodworking, especially the new guys, because sanding is gonna be, let's face it, 70, 80, 90% of what you're actually doing with your time. Now when you pair this with 3M's Cubitron sandpaper, which seems to be a fan favorite of most of the woodworkers that I see on YouTube, I wish I had some laying around. This is that sandpaper, but I don't know where the box went. Paired with 3M's sandpaper, it does have tremendous dust collection and it makes very quick work of most projects. If you're just starting out woodworking, I would highly recommend getting a higher end sander. Spending your days sanding away at a project is probably what's going to deter you away from woodworking more than anything else, because let's face it, it is a rather boring task. It has 7 variable speeds and a little power button, so that way if you have it plugged in and you set it down, you accidentally hit that paddle, you're not going to accidentally send your sander off on its own quest. You can turn it off and it works as a little safety device for it. That way, I don't know about you, but I have hit my sander many times and had it run amok and sanded away a small portion of my hand or my finger. It is ridiculously quiet and overall it just feels great in the hand. I find myself spending a lot of time sanding like any other woodworker, and lately I haven't been having those, you know, like those end of the day kind of arthritis pains that you're getting in your hand from a long day of sanding, and doing away with that just makes ending a project that much better. Overall, I highly recommend this 3M Extract. It is a very versatile tool, lightweight, feels great in the hand, incredible dust extraction, but you are going to pay for it. Now this is a great opportunity to show you just how well this sander works. This is my workbench. Of course, I never really got around to finishing the top, but I was working on a project where I had to stain the legs. It's actually my table build. If you haven't watched that, the video is up and I will link it in the top corner right there. And I got a little bit of stain on my workbench. So I just had this old piece of paper laying around that I threw on there. It's a little bit worn, but all in all, it's gonna eat away at this quite quickly. Let's go ahead and give you a show, as well as show you how loud this sander is. And I mean, it might be better to say how quiet this sander is rather. All right, so here we go. Now, I didn't speed that up at all. I just kind of let that go and run its course. We'll get this too. There you go. mostly gone. I didn't even connect it to the dust extraction system, so now there's a bunch of dust. Sorry guys. But I really wanted you guys to see how quiet this sander is overall. I didn't mess with any of the audio during that portion, and I didn't want to speed it up because I really wanted to show you just how well this sander with the sanding pad works. Now I have cancer and I'm going to die, but that is all right. All right, now the next tool we have on my list is actually the whole reason I built this workbench. It's my table saw. Now this table saw does come in at $299.99. It's an absolutely unbeatable price, but I do understand that it's not one of the bigger names out there like DeWalt or Milwaukee or Makita. Let me show you some of the features that are on this saw as far as adjustability goes, because it has a ton, and that's where this thing really strives. Now I have been able to cut woods like 8/4 ash, or often I cut 6/4 walnut or maple, and it does leave a little bit of a burn, but it's nothing cleaning it up with a hand plane or even just sanding it down won't fix. Overall, this is a great saw, so let me show you some of the things that come with it. Okay, now we're gonna start with the front of the table saw first. So of course you have your push stick here. Come around to this side and we have our on and off switch. So obviously green for on, red for off. I like this big paddle because I can just smack it with my knee sometimes. And then you have your height adjustment here, and of course your angle adjustment along this curve. Now this thing is pretty heavy internally, and the weight distribution is a little bit awkward. So when you first let loose, it's gonna just kind of tilt off to the side. This does make adjusting it at your perfect angle and then locking it down a little bit hard if you only have one hand, because it's kind of wanting to sway back and forth. But just get a good grip on it, set it to wherever you want, and then just kind of lock it down loosely, and then there you go. Okay, now we are moving to the side of the saw. This is obviously your motor here. This is a nice solid piece. I don't really know much about the actual motors itself, but it is strong enough to not mess me up when I'm cutting thick hardwood. These are your adjustment gears for raising and lowering the saw blade. So that's something that's easily accessible and easy to keep clean. If you have an air compressor, you just blow dust or whatever right out of there. I haven't actually had to do that. Those are concealed enough away from the dust collection port way back here to where I'm not getting any dust coming underneath and into those spots. These are plastic, these are not metal. The threaded rod here is metal and this bar here is metal, but these actual gears itself are plastic. They are pretty thick, solid plastic though. They don't feel like they're hollow. We'll move around the back of the saw because we have a little adjustment knob here. Okay, so here we are at the back of the saw. This is your dust collection port, and then it did come with a 45 degree, but I went ahead and I bought a 90-degree angle to just go in there. You have a little clamp right here for your dust collection hose or whatever you're using. That way if you want to unplug it and then just like set it there, do whatever you're doing, and then pull it off, plug it back in. Now this is one of the main reasons I ended up buying this table saw, was because of this fine calibration bolt right here. This lets me really fine tune the tail end of my saw blade, so that way I can make sure that my blade is exactly parallel with my fence. And then it has this secondary screw on here that I can just tighten it down and really lock it into place, holding this and then locking that into place. So that way any movement coming from the motor here isn't slowly working this out. Now I was just messing with it here, so I'll have to tune my saw blade again, but I've only ever had to tune this maybe once or twice. I check it every couple months or so to make sure that it is still perfectly parallel, and this thing has held it in place very, very well. All right, now this is the final side of our table saw, and we have our little handle right here that we can use to carry it from one place to another. This is a job site table saw, so it was meant to be on the go. Here we have a place to store your blade removal tools. Of course, I have a different place in the shop where I just keep all of my things that are used to adjust blades and stuff like that. But if you wanted to be smarter than me, you can keep your stuff right there It is already built right into the table saw. That's pretty much it for this side of the saw, and all the way around underneath. Let's move on to the top where all of the magic happens. All right, so now we're moving to the top of the table saw. It is a metal top. It does appear to be steel with some kind of really durable protective coating. The protective coating has scratched over the years, but it has prevented it from being rusted at all times. I'm not the best at putting paste wax on it to protect it, so the durable coat on top has been a lifesaver. Now the fence is aluminum, but that's all right, because what's more important is that when I take my straight edge and I run it across the side here, it is not showing any light anywhere all the way through. It is dead flat. You do have this built-in T-track here at the top for all of your little attachments and whatnot. It runs on a rack and pinion system, which makes it really easy to fine-tune your fence location. Speaking of fine-tuning, you do have these 3 sets of location bolts that you can use to adjust the squareness and the location of your fence. You'll need 2 to match the built-in ruler that's on the front of the saw, and then I don't know what you'll use the 3rd for. Let me know. Mine are just being used for decoration. The saw blade itself is nothing special. It is a 10-inch, 24-tooth, very dirty old blade. This is actually the original that came with it. Yours will not come dirty. But what I do like about this is that you can remove it and you can replace it with up to an 8-inch dado stack. It will accept that. However, you will have to purchase the plate separately. It is made by Skill, so it does click in perfectly just like that, and it couldn't be a better fit. If you are into ordering blade inserts online, then I would highly recommend you order these. These are pre-cut and they are not by Skill. I think it is a third-party gentleman who is making and selling these, but I will link them down below so that way they're easy to find, and it's just a really nice fit, zero clearance insert for this. You will have to do a little bit of fine-tuning with a sander because there's a couple high spots here and there, but nothing a little hand sanding can't fix, and then you have yourself a pack of 5 zero clearance inserts for roughly, I think it was like 15 bucks, so that's not gonna break the bank. It did additionally come with added protection for your fingers and your toes, depending on how you're cutting. I took mine off because it gets in the way, and the riving knife that comes on here, let me raise the blade up. The riving knife that comes with this is a solid steel piece. It has 0 flex to it, so it's a really durable one. I have seen job site table saws that come with these, and they're just like a really hard plastic, kind of trying to replicate like the sturdiness of this. But I mean, you can't go wrong with a solid piece of metal. And that pretty much does it for the saw, so let's move on. All right, and those are my 2 tools that I get asked about most in the shop. The table saw is a hell of a deal. You'll be able to save some money on that, coming in at about $299.99. So 300 bucks is just about average for your table saws, and then you're gonna get a little bit extra as far as tuning goes with this guy because it has a lot of features built in, as well as those foldable legs that I did not show you, but maybe I'll insert a clip right here where you can see me unfolding the legs and then it's standing up on its own. Now the sander that I chose was of course a little bit more expensive, but I think that it is well worth it. I spent money on a sander, and then after a while I was still getting those hand pains, which was a big one for me. But this one ended up saving me a lot of time as far as sanding goes because it's really efficient at removing material. And then I'm not dealing with those hand pains anymore. So that was the big trade-off for me. If you're new to woodworking, I would say one of the big trade-offs is you're not gonna get bored sanding your projects down because you're gonna cut down on that time. And if you become bored with woodworking at the very beginning, then the chances of you sticking with the hobby is gonna be slim to none. Now I did say at the end of last year that I wanted to do something big for you guys when we hit 1,000 subscribers, and we have long passed that, and I have yet to do anything because I couldn't think of something that was that would fit the bill. What I am gonna do is subscribe to the channel down below. We'll keep racking that number up. There's 2,000 of you guys. You guys are absolutely awesome, but I do see that 90% of the people who are watching the channel aren't subscribed. So subscribe down below. I'm gonna give you guys 4 weeks, and not next video, but the video after that, I will be announcing who is going to be winning a table saw. Not just any table saw. It's going to be this exact table saw. So if you're new to woodworking, subscribe to the channel. I want to do a giveaway for you guys because you guys are absolutely awesome. Have a great day in the shop. I'll see you guys next time.